I'm Carol Talbot, the creator and founder of the Possibility Hub, taking you beyond the boundaries of who you believe yourself to be and opening up to new possibilities. This podcast is an advocate for awakening, encouragement, and also creating opportunities for an expansion of awareness and consciousness to allow you to step into a fuller focus of who you really are. In this episode, I'm in conversation with a very good friend of mine, now based in the Czech Republic, the exceptional Alexandra McKenzie. She has a master's degree in Consciousness and Transformative Studies. She's also a certified Clinical and Spiritual Hypnotherapist, past Life Regression Hypnotherapist, Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique Practitioner, NLP Master Practitioner, Theta Healer, and Ham-Sa Yogini. She's traveled extensively and studied with many masters, many gurus, which has led her to develop her very own unique Astral Travel program, helping her students to explore new levels of awareness. Hello, Alex, and welcome to the Possibility Hub podcast. We're here today in different parts of the world. You're in Czech Republic and I'm here in the Middle East in Dubai. And we're talking about astral travel. So maybe we'll meet in the middle somewhere up there. So maybe the first place for us to start is to define for listeners, what exactly is astral travel?
So astral travel is actually a term which is not very specific, but what it indicates, in other words, we can say it can be as a soul travel. It is the part of us which is non-physical, and that non-physical part of us leaves the physical body and goes on exploration, if I can say it simply like this, yeah.
So we literally float up out of our body, but not our body, another part of our body.
Yes, I would say that the consciousness or the non-physical part, some refer to it as a soul travel, some people refer it as a light body travel, and that is that part which leaves the physical density, I would say, of our physical body and goes and explore.
And what's the purpose of exploring? What are you exactly exploring?
So with this term of astral travel, there are maybe a few misconceptions and maybe a few things which are a bit uncertain and unclear. And the first one is that non-physical part of us, which we can refer to as a soul, leaves the physical density. And the huge advantage of that is that the moment we leave the physical density behind, we can, as if, start breathing. We can take a deep breath and we can connect to the truth. We can connect to the truth of who we are, that we are more than the physical body, that we are more as a light body, and we start perceiving the part of our reality, which is also the non-physical part of our reality. And so it goes into those directions, and the main purpose of the astral travel is to finding and recognizing who we are, finding and recognizing the truth and the true self of who we are, and working with it. So the astral travel can be seen only as a tool in order to spiritually progress, if I can say it this way.
So really, it's that understanding that we are more than this physical form, that we are so much more than that. And then when we realize that we're more than this physical form, we have the opportunity to explore the non-physical realms. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And one thing which goes hand in hand with that is that the physical form or the physical life we live in is often is restricting us, and it just puts lots of illusions and obstacles into our way. And so through astral travel, through leaving all this behind, we can re-examine those obstacles and we can deal with it, resolve them, learn from it, and move beyond that.
And of course, see a completely different perspective as well. Now, you've developed your own program and way of teaching people to learn this, and we'll go into that in a while. I'm just curious, how did you get into this? I mean, did you have experiences as a child? Were your parents open to this? And I know we've spoken about this before, and you always say, no, my parents are very, very grounded, very much in the physical realm. So what happened that allowed you to start exploring these different realms? Did it happen naturally, or was it something that you sought out?
So one thing, I think I was born with this, because I remember even as a little child, I was sort of looking up the stars. I was looking up the Orion star cluster and Pleiades. And I thought something's not quite right, as if I was not from here, or as if the connection from up there was much stronger. At certain age, I realized that maybe my parents are not my real parents. Maybe my parents are just these nice people who are looking up to me, but my true original parents maybe are somewhere else. And as I grew up, I think it was when I was a young teenager, I always had visions and connection with the other than physical realities, I would say. So for me, it was quite normal. Out-of-body experiences were, I guess, quite normal. I remember that I used to go to school and I had to go about 2 or 3 times because I realized that I wasn't going to school as a physical body. It was the light body, or it was the astral form which got up from the bed and went to school. And so I learned very early at age how to wake up into this physical reality, to bring my physical body with me, because otherwise it doesn't work. And so for me, it was a quite smooth transition through the early years of my teenage years into adulthood, when the true and real mystery started, actually. And I think one of the major awakening time, it was, I could have been maybe 17 or 18, very young, and I joined a course, and part of the course was a fire walk, and that really shifted my perception from what we perceive as reality, because I was standing in front of the hot coals and I realized I'm gonna walk across the fire. And I realized that if I walk across the fire, I can do anything I want. And it also indicated to me that the reality as we see it is not quite the reality. And so I look through my third eye, as if through my third eye, I walk through the fire as if in trance. I came on the other side and I did it, and something had shifted. And from that moment, I was more perceptive to even see the energies.
And you know, I'm a great advocate of the firewalk as well. I often run firewalks, and it's such a powerful experience for exactly the reason that you said. It moves you from impossible to possible very quickly, allows you to realize just how brilliant we are. And of course, the energy of the fire is really spectacular in terms of shifting us and moving us. So what happened after you had an experience like that? Because I know you also went on to study at the Monroe Institute, which, of course, Bob Monroe is one of the foremost people who brought astral travel more into the mainstream awareness.
Yes, I absolutely love studying with the Monroe Institute. That is chapter on its own, to be honest. I have learned so much. One of my greatest teachers of the out-of-body experience, William Buhlman, is part of the Monroe Institute, and so much more, so many amazing teachers and so many amazing experiences. And a big part of it is also the hemisync, listening the frequencies or listening the music which supports our altered state of consciousness, which is essentially the astral travel and out-of-body experiences, is part of altered states of consciousness. And that enhances or maybe speeds up our progress to achieve that state. So I really recommend the Monroe Institute.
So what you're saying here is that to astral travel, you need to find different ways to access different states. And I know through the Monroe Institute, they advocate hemi-sync and music, which is binaural music. So you need headphones for that. Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. However, the way I teach it is without it, because we all have abilities to enter the altered states of consciousness. And in my opinion, why not to learn it from the scratch, and why not to learn it in such a way that anytime, anywhere, we can access this beautiful tool and we can go on our spiritual journey as we need, as it's required, you know? And so the first part of the astral travel is that we need to learn about meditation. We need to learn how to calm down to the point where we can actually meditate. And from the meditation or through the meditation, we can enter the altered state of consciousness, which is a bit deeper requirement for complete relaxation of our physical body in such a way that our non-physical, the energetic component or the light body or the soul or the spirit can actually release itself from the physicality and go and explore elsewhere. And actually talking about this, going out of the body is not really the case, because many astral travel teachers or many out-of-body experiences teachers, they say it's actually inward journey. And I think this is where our linear thinking and linear perception sort of loses its grip on what it is, because it is not really the journey outward, it is really the journey inward.
Now that's like a dichotomy really to get your head around, because you know, part of us are thinking astral travel or out of body experiences, that another aspect of yourself is lifting out, yet you're saying it's about going within. So how does that dichotomy work? Are you saying that we have to, through meditation, go inside, find that still point, and that allows for a separation of another part of you to become aware of different aspects?
That's exactly how it is. We go into that 0 point as if out of which we are able to exit. Some people see the exit more profound than the others. I think through the experience, the exit is not as dramatic as many probably remember from their childhood when they left the body and it was quite dramatic exits, and they floated above their physical body and saw their physical body lying down there. Through the practice, this exit becomes more smooth and more natural. And we realize that whatever is out there is somehow also within ourselves. And that is maybe why the whole experience is such a huge learning experience for us. It's so important for our soul and our spirit and all the energetic components to experience that, because it opens up to the truth of who we are. It opens up to the truth of this reality. It opens up to the truth about the physics of this world and so much more.
And I think you mentioned, you know, that people have the opportunity to look down and see their body. And I do recall when I was a child, I used to have many, many flying dreams. And I actually remember one just a few months ago. And what was lovely about it was to have that sensation of flying again. Yet many people, if they're kind of on the ceiling looking down, are going to be, holy moly. And of course, as soon as you have that thought of like, oh, that's me, poof, you're back in your body. So I would imagine, and maybe you can help us understand here, there needs to be a good level of trust to start with, to really let yourself go and allow that to happen?
Absolutely. And the trust comes from the experiences. And when I teach the Astral Travel, we start very gently and we start little baby steps about how to disconnect our consciousness from the physical body, how to expand to the point where it's nice and smooth and less frightening perhaps, or more pleasurable, I would say, to leave and go and explore. Because naturally, if we experience something what is not part of our normal experience, it may frighten us, which is seeing ourselves lying there in a body, for example. Yeah.
So how do people get started with this in a way that they're going to feel comfortable? And of course, there's some people who may be listening thinking, oh gosh, I can spy on my friends, I can take a peek into other people's. There needs to be some rules, I would imagine, on what's ethical, what's not, and also protection, because of course, as people open their heart more, the heart chakra is linked to the lower astral levels, and it's also said to be an entry point. The heart is a good entry point for entities. So is that something that you also cover in the programs in terms of how people can protect themselves and what's ethical and what's not, in terms of, you know, having a sneak peek into somebody else's lives or what your neighbors are up to?
Yeah, absolutely. And you covered so many topics, and we spent big portion of time on all these topics. So the ethics is a huge part, of course. Then the process of the actual, the Astral Travel, the actual process, we spend obviously large portion of time on that, learning and explaining, and learning where to go, where not to go, and also the protection of our own energies. That's a big topic, and we discuss that. We use lots of maybe even different modalities for people to understand, for people to learn how to work with it, how to feel comfortable, how to feel safe, so we can actually go on with the exploration and we can go on with astral traveling. Yes.
It reminds me really of hypnosis, and I know you're also a hypnotherapist and also do quantum healing hypnosis techniques, past life regressions, and that, you know, people often, a question I'm often asked is, what if I don't wake up? You know, do I stay in a hypnotic trance forever? And I would imagine with astral travel, the similar question is, what if I can't get back? Is there, again, a way that people will always get back, as in hypnosis? You'll always wake up like you do in the morning after a night's sleep. You always wake up, whether the alarm clock goes off or not. You'll always eventually wake up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this is maybe a good thing, because I am a hypnotherapist, and years of practice of the hypnotherapy helped me to understand the principle of altered states of consciousness and principle of out-of-body experiences. And exactly as you say, people always wake up, and simply because we have physical body, and if anything, during the astral travel, people fall asleep, and you always wake up from the sleep, and you always, at some point, you wake up just to go into the bathroom, for example, or you wake up because you're hungry or your stomach wakes you up. But having said that, it's the opposite is usually the problem. People are struggling how to be in that state a little bit longer, because every single change usually brings us back into the physical body, and every single maybe change of emotions, or it's quite difficult to learn how to stay in that state rather than how to wake up. Yes.
So can people get started on this by themselves, or would you recommend really that they attend a program? And I ask this question because I know from my own experience, having read Bob Monroe's books and a number of other books on astral travel and out-of-body experiences, by reminding myself to say certain things before I go to sleep. I've also bought a very expensive eye mask thing, which was meant to beep or flash lights at certain times when I went into certain brainwave cycles, and yet none of them really made a difference. So what do you advise people who are curious and interested to explore these other realms, this other opportunity that we have?
Well, first of all, the astral travel or out-of-body experience is very natural to us. We all do it. If anything, we all do it when we're sleeping or when we're dreaming. But I would recommend to really do a course or read many books, ideally to do a course with someone who has the experience and who you resonate with, because there are so many things which are good to know before you go on the journey. And first of all, not only how to do it, but also where to go. There are different levels of the astral plane and all the different levels of all kinds of energetic realms we can enter. And it's always good to know where to travel, how to travel, what to expect, because it's like as if the teacher will provide you a map. And so you don't have to learn through trial and error. You learn according to the map. And so your journey will be much more profound, much more effective.
Okay. So you actually start with, this is where I'm going to go. This is what level I'm going to explore. So what is the most interesting realm that you've explored, that you've been to?
So this is where the astral travel is actually showing what it is really about. And it is correlating a little bit with the spiritual hypnotherapy I'm doing, because it's not only about having fun and go and explore, it's about learning about ourselves. And so first thing everyone will probably be faced with is facing our own blocks or our own fears, our own issues and obstacles, and overcoming them, learning from it and overcoming them. Once we do that, it will let us to go further or higher, I would say. And the main principle of the astral travel is to learn from every experience. And so you connect to different frequencies, you connect to higher vibrations, and higher you go, better it gets, more wisdom you probably you soak up, I would say, or you calibrate to more wisdom. And so we have to remember that perhaps the information or the data, if we can put it this way, you see, it's not always the wisdom. The wisdom comes through the frequency or the vibration where we go. And the ultimate goal is to go to the higher frequencies, higher vibrations, because this is where we are calibrating to something what is a bit more profound, something what is helping us to learn and experience more. And we bring that into our physical life. We bring it into our understanding here in the physical world. For example, we can go to places where there is unconditional love. And so finally, we understand, oh, this is what unconditional love feels. And we come back into the physical reality, into our physical body, and we can bring that unconditional love with us. So this is very, very briefly said what is really going on. But your question was, what was the most interesting or the most juicy realm, I would say.
Absolutely. Where did you go?
And so there are so many options, so many possibilities where to go once you clear up the basic. And I think it depends on a personal preference, because I know that lots of people, they like angels. And so they go to realms where the angels reside and they can have communications with angels, or they can go to realms where masters reside and learn from the masters. And people can go to galactic heavens, if we can put it this way, and we learn about different beings from different realms, and as if different planets, maybe we perceive it as extraterrestrials. I found that in particular very, very interesting. because it correlates with our experiences on Earth sometimes, and for some people. There are so many different places where one can go. And for example, in the Monroe Institute, we have even learned how to rescue lost souls. So not only you can go to places where just love and light and everything beautiful is happening, you can also end up in places where which are not so full of love and light, I would say. And so if you specifically prepared and if you have the appropriate abilities, you can go and help in places like a little bit denser, where you may help some lost souls, for example, as well.
So what has been one of your journeys that you've really remembered that's been profound for you?
For me, it was probably traveling into realms where the physics as we know it on this planet are expanded with new physics and new realities. And that is, for example, going through portals from one dimension to another dimension, and how to be able to open these portals and how to meet different beings which are beyond these portals in other dimensions. My really favorite is probably to go and communicate with different beings, which we may perceive as interdimensional or extraterrestrials. And they know very well about our life here on a planet. They know very well about our physical life as well. And I just love the discussions and understanding and the wisdom from these beings.
So I'm curious, when you talked about also on kind of rescue missions, do you sometimes go as a group, purposely as a group, so that you're not always alone, that you meet other people in your group on a specific mission?
You can train yourself to do that. And yes, sometimes it happens. It depends on the intention of each person. If this is your intention, it can easily happen. I remember during one of the exercises in the Monroe Institute, one of my friends, I saw her on my travels, and I called her, and she actually heard me, and then we continued together. And when we came back into the physical realm, physical body, we discussed our experience, and she said exactly the same thing from her point of view on the other side. So these things are absolutely phenomenal. And I know that people do group up there, and they do group missions together. They go and help together, and the stories are absolutely phenomenal, especially when you have sort of feedback that someone confirms your experience. And that makes you wonder anything. Isn't this interesting? These people confirm exactly what I experience up there.
And connecting on such a different level as well. So there's often talk about astral travel, lucid dreaming, remote viewing, the three and out-of-body experiences. So the four often you hear in the same conversation: astral travel, remote viewing, lucid dreaming, out-of-body experiences. So is there a difference between astral travel and remote viewing?
Yes, there is difference, big difference. I would say that the astral travel, let's put it this way, near-death experience and out-of-body experience are usually put together. Then the astral travel is kind of not as deep, yet it's reaching the out-of-body and near-death experiences. It sort of correlates with the mystical experiences and the principles of that mechanism. And when we bring it more into our denser perception of physicality, we can use the astral travel as a tool in order to remote view. And so astral travel is not like remote viewing. There are two different things. However, we can remote view with using of the astral travel. And there are two different methods how to teach the remote viewing as well. So the Monroe Institute, for example, also teaches the remote viewing. There are many schools who teaches remote viewing in proper control way. However, you can remote view, or you can psychically observe something using your astral travel as well. And that way is the way I usually teach the students as well.
Yes, so you include the remote viewing in the program, or in, I know your astral travel programs are in different levels, 1, 2, 3. What about lucid dreaming?
And so lucid dreaming is, again, something what we do absolutely naturally. And that means that you are dreaming and suddenly you become aware that you are dreaming. You become aware of the dream. And the advantage of it is that you can, with your conscious mind, you can change the flow of the dream. And when you become aware of your own dream, this is when the astral travel and out-of-body experience becomes pretty much the same thing. You become aware and you can go and explore different realms and different situations, and you can change it accordingly to your own desire, your own outcome. One brilliant thing about lucid dreaming is that you can sort of train yourself to heal yourself during the lucid dreams. And with astral travel, it is the same thing. The only difference is that astral travel you do as a meditative experience or as a meditative exercise, whereas lucid dreaming you do during the night or during the mornings or evenings when you're sleeping. I personally prefer the astral travel, but I know that not everyone has the time to really spend the time and meditate purposefully, let's say 1 hour or 2 hours a day. So this is where the second option of the astral travel practice is during the night when sleep, and we are working with the lucid dreaming as if we're working with the astral travel.
So when people come to your program, are they amazed at what they can experience in such a short space of time? Because, as I mentioned earlier, in the different levels of the program, not are people only astral traveling, they also get the opportunity to remote view. And having attended your programs, I know that people are always surprised when they may not get the exact building or object, yet they've got a shape or something about it that begs the question, how could I know unless I was in an altered state and could see a bigger picture, which goes back to the fact that really you're expanding consciousness, you're expanding awareness.
Yes, so during the basic program, I teach the principles of the astral travel, how to do it and where to go and what to expect, and sort of the nitty-gritty of the whole process. And then as people practice with my help through the meditations or themselves, we go to the next level where we use that tool in order to remote view. And that again requires a little bit of practice, and students are usually surprised how good they are. Yeah. And we are not really aiming for being 100% accurate, not at all. What we are aiming is for our abilities to reach that level of seeing or perceiving something. And that is always, always such a great fun.
So what would you like to say to people who are thinking about doing this, and maybe there's a little bit of fear that allows them to understand what a beautiful, fun adventure this can really be?
If someone's drawn to it, and what I have noticed is that people who do meditate, people who are on the journey of self-exploration, they very often are drawn to these activities and they are eager to learn. And so if you have a good map, as I would say, if you have a good sort of, how would I put it, ingredients and instructions how to do it, the sky is not even the sky is your limit, to be honest, because you can really go and explore, and you learn how to diminish the fear. You learn the principle of fear, and you learn what is behind the fear. And it's always good to have this, not only for astral travel, but for everyday life, really.
So as we finish off, one last question for you. What has been the profound impact on your life by practicing astral travel, out-of-body experiences, remote viewing. How has that expanded your consciousness, and where do you see it taking yourself as well as the rest of humanity?
Well, first of all, it is the journey of our soul, as I mentioned before. It is understanding of our true self. It is understanding of who we really are. It is understanding of our reality, our microcosmos and macrocosmos. That means who we are inside and who we are, or where do we live, our external life as well, and kind of navigation through our life. And one of the things which I didn't mention is that the astral travel was told to me that I have to teach it in order for humanity to progress, to advance in the journey or in the path of ascension. And that essentially is understanding of our true self. And indirectly, one huge part of that is to somehow get out of this cycle of reincarnation, to learn as much as possible about our current life. And that is, we cannot look at it from a linear perspective. We have to look at it as a holistic perspective. And so astral travel helps me to understand the holistic perspective of my life, be it emotions, be it interaction with people in my life, following my life purpose, healing, exploring my past lives, exploring things beyond time and space, meaning we can even go towards the future, and remote viewing is a great tool to go and search and look into the future, for example, to search for all the possible options of our future and be prepared and live according to our best possible ways, along with expanding of our consciousness in the sense that we expand it as human beings. We become superhumans in many senses. Our psychic abilities advance. This is actually the third level of the astral travel I teach, psychic abilities, because we have so much potential within ourselves if only we wake up to it, and if only we practice, which is another thing. Many people want to know, they want to go, they want to try, but it comes with practice. Yeah, and we do need to practice. We do need to do our spiritual discipline, as I would say, meditating and working on ourselves constantly.
And as you say, to get out of that reincarnation loop. I love that, moving from a linear perspective to a holistic perspective. And as you know, the Possibility Hub is all about activating your superhuman abilities and to be more than you thought you could be when you get out of your own way. So thank you, Alex, for an exciting conversation on the astral levels, gaining different wisdom, gaining that holistic perspective rather than staying stuck in this time-space reality and the linear perspective. So people can contact you. I will put your details so people can contact you if they want to know more about the next program on astral travel and the different levels, or perhaps they want to explore past lives or future lives through a hypnotic intervention. So I will let them know your details. Thank you so much for coming on the Possibility Hub.
Thank you so much. And it is just a pleasure to discuss these things and share these things with others. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode with my guest, Alexandra McKenzie. And I'm sure you're now curious to explore the astral realms. As mentioned, Alexandra advises that you have guidance or attend a program first to ensure a safe and powerful experience. So you can find out more on her website, innerselfconsultancy.com. I'm thrilled to be sharing possibilities with you. And if you want more, then check out the link at thepossibilityhub.com. And if you feel that others can benefit from listening in, then please share, review, like, follow on Instagram, Carol K. Talbot, or check my YouTube channel. And finally, remember, you are always more than you think you are.